Johnny Depp has been in the public spotlight for over 30 years, an A-list celebrity who at one point was the highest paid movie actor in history. His list of acting credits is long, but on the top is his portrayal of Captain Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean series of movies. This role made him lots of money and exposed him to a whole new legion of fans. Johnny Depp met fellow actor Amber Heard when they shot a movie together in Puerto Rico called The Rum Diary. They fell in love while on the road promoting the movie and entered into a dysfunctional, tumultuous marriage that ended quickly. But after their final divorce settlement agreement, Amber wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post talking about being a victim of domestic violence. This op-ed was the reason Johnny sued Amber for defamation. It was a case that many thought was impossible to win. A public figure suing for defamation in the United States is not the type of case that is considered winnable. But as the world watched, Johnny did win, not only inside the courtroom, but in the court of public opinion. How did he do it? Tonight, we get in-depth insight into the trial of the year as Camille Vasquez and other members of Johnny's legal team speak with Court TV's Chanley Painter. And Johnny's lead attorney, Ben Chu, joins us live. For the next hour, we go behind the scenes in part one of our special look at Johnny Depp's legal team. Hi, I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. This is a special hour here on Closing Arguments, part one of our two-part special, taking a look at the trial of the year, the decade, I think really the trial of this century. Anyhow, when we think of legal teams, the first one that comes to mind for me was O.J. Simpson's so-called dream team that seemed to win a case that many thought couldn't be won. O.J. Simpson accused of double murder. There was the car chase. Everything was pointing towards O.J. Simpson is a double murderer. O.J. Simpson is going to go to prison for the rest of his life. At the end of the day, that dream team of lawyers convinced the jury that there was reasonable doubt, and O.J. Simpson was found not guilty. And that was quite an accomplishment. And for Johnny Cochran and everyone else who was a member of that team, it was a big, big deal. Really big deal. But I want to compare what they did with what Johnny Depp was up against, because Johnny Depp's trial is different. It wasn't a criminal case, it's a defamation case, which is different. In a criminal trial, to win as a defense attorney, you just have to raise a reasonable doubt. And no offense to criminal defense attorneys out there, but prosecutors are the ones who have to prove something. And it's an enormous burden beyond any and all reasonable doubt. Defense attorneys like the Dream Team just have to convince the jury that there is some reasonable doubt, and they win the case. You bring a defamation case, it's different. The burden's on you. You now have to prove it. It's not that you're just trying to show that they can't prove it. You have to prove it. And when you're a celebrity who's claiming that you've been defamed, a public figure, the burden is even greater and more difficult. Now, for Johnny Depp, don't forget, before this trial ever happened, there was a trial over in the UK. Johnny lost that case. And different system of justice, a judge, one person made the decision, for whatever that's worth. But in that case that Johnny lost, the burden was on the other side, because it's the UK. Their system is a little backwards. Anyhow, so he comes into the trial here in the United States, public figure suing for defamation after having lost a similar case, not the same case, but a similar case over in the UK. And what we witnessed is what I'm referring to as the miracle in Fairfax. To completely turn that thing around, to win, to actually win. And I'll be honest, the first time I looked at this case, I said, okay, I'm open-minded and all, but I just know as an attorney, what a mountain you had to climb here. And it was done. So how exactly was this case won? Well, you've got a great team of attorneys who are bringing it, are figuring out who should testify, how they should testify, what questions we should ask, how we should dress, how we should make the arguments, everything from start to finish. So, again, in these next 2 nights right here on Closing Arguments, we're going to take an in-depth look at Johnny Depp's legal team. Chanley Painter, Court TV legal correspondent, who was there for the whole trial from start to finish, sat down with Camille Vasquez and some other members of the team. Let's take a look.
Who is Camille Vasquez?
Who is Camille Vasquez?
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. You know, I think what you see is what you get. My parents have 2 girls. I am an aunt. I am a friend and a colleague. I was pretty much told that I was going to be a lawyer. I guess I was a pretty mouthy child, and I had opinions about a lot of things, and I expressed them passionately.
Who is Jessica Meyers?
I am a woman who grew up in Massachusetts. I knew from a very young age I wanted to be an attorney. In high school, I read To Kill a Mockingbird and was sort of sold on advocating for people.
So tell me about yourself.
Well, I grew up in California, grew up in Sacramento.
Is this what you've always wanted to do?
Be a lawyer? No. I wound up in law school because I couldn't think of what else to do with my life. I had no real plan coming out of college, but I seemed to have a certain aptitude for law. I'm naturally argumentative.
How did you come to even represent Johnny Depp?
We were handling a couple litigations out of California, so I was staffed on those cases. And at that time, I was one of the few women on the team. And I think that being a woman helped me forge a relationship with Johnny that maybe some of the male partners didn't have. And I was able to learn probably more about him than he knows about himself, as I say to him sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually originally brought into the case because Ms. Heard had filed, I believe it was her second demur, which, you know, is a motion to dismiss. And this was, I think, probably her strongest one. It was making the argument that the statements were not defamatory because they never mentioned Johnny. So I was brought in to brief that.
I wasn't immediately involved in that, but pretty quickly things began to spiral and they needed more hands on the team. So Camille said, want to jump on board? And I said, fine.
We believed in Johnny, first and foremost. We believed in him, we believed in our case strategy, and we believed in one another. We were really confident in our abilities to present this case in the most effective, truthful, and passionate way that we could. I think in our case here in the US, we really focused on the big lies, not every single lie, and exposing her to be untruthful.
In preparation for this trial, what was your team's game plan in taking on this case?
We figured if he could tell his story, and once and for all, after 6 years, he can deny these allegations outright, and he can tell the story and give the jury, help give the jury a reason why she would make this up. We thought that there was really a very small chance he could lose.
The beautiful thing about this team is I think we very quickly, everyone is incredibly talented, but people have their strengths, right? And so I think we sort of recognize what those strengths were.
No one had ever, in 5 decades, no one had ever accused Johnny Depp of being abusive of any kind with a woman. That's why it was such a jolt. A false allegation can devastate a career, and it can devastate a family. And the evidence will show that Ms. Heard's false allegations had a significant impact on Mr. Depp's family and his ability to work in the profession he loved.
We started talking about who was going to do what probably a week before, as we were writing the opening statement. I remember as a team, we collectively told Ben that we thought the opening needed to be split, where he would introduce Johnny, and then the person that was going to go after Amber was going to be the person that was going to do that from the beginning.
Right.
In this trial, Ms. Heard will undoubtedly present photos that supposedly show injuries she sustained as a result of the claimed abuse by Mr. Depp. Here's what you should keep in mind when you see these photographs. First, the evidence and expert testimony from a forensic pathologist, a doctor, will show that the injuries reflected in these photographs are not consistent with the brutal allegations of abuse Ms. Heard has alleged. You will not see a single photograph of the vast majority of the abuse alleged by Ms. Heard. Not one. And there is not a single photograph or video showing Mr. Depp becoming physically violent towards Ms. Heard.
As a lawyer, you have to have a critical eye towards the evidence, because if you just believe your client blindly, you're doing a disservice, because you have to anticipate that someone may not believe him or her, and so you have to be able to figure out a way to convince that person that your client's telling the truth.
And we will continue watching more of Chanley's interview, but we've got a special guest ourselves tonight. Joining us in Washington, D.C., trial attorney, partner with Brown Rudnick, and the lead attorney who represented Johnny Depp during his defamation case, Ben Chew, back with us. Ben, great to see you. Thanks for coming aboard tonight.
You're most welcome, Benny. It's great to see you. Thanks for having me again.
So let's go here. Something that Camille said, we believed in Johnny. When did you first meet Johnny Depp, and what did you have any preconceived ideas about Johnny Depp before you got to know him?
I was introduced to Johnny by a mutual friend, another attorney, and I really didn't have any preconceived notions about Johnny other than that he was somewhat of a mysterious figure. He was a great actor, I knew that. But he really was very private. So until this, ironically, he really had been not reclusive, but he was someone who really valued his private life, and he kept his family life quiet.
And as you mentioned, until this, where everything spilled out into the courtroom. We've got a lot to get to this hour, so Ben Chew is going to stay with us as we continue to get an inside look at Johnny Depp's legal team. Also, folks, coming up next hour. In Moscow, Idaho, it has been 1 month since 4 college students were stabbed to death inside their off-campus residence. So far, no suspects and no arrests. It's a case that has captivated the nation and frustrated family members as the search for this killer continues. Tonight, we ask 2 questions. Why hasn't the driver of the white Hyundai in the area that night come forward? And is there any useful evidence on body cam footage from an unrelated incident that night?
A former police officer on trial for murder after shooting a woman in her mother's home.
A place she should have been safe.
Human life is a precious thing and should not have been taken from Miss Jefferson.
Put your hands up, show me your hands.
This is a tough and tragic event.
Now his fate will rest in the hands of a jury.
The Killed While Babysitting Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings at 9/8 Central on Court TV.
What a moment outside the courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia. Camille Vasquez and Ben Chew after Johnny Depp won his defamation case. Tonight we're getting an inside look at Johnny Depp's legal team. And still with me, Ben Chew. Ben, how daunting was it to prepare for this case? The amount of detail, the amount of years, and all of this, the evidence and the witnesses.
Vinny, we filed the case on March 1, 2019, and normally under Virginia state procedure, in Fairfax anyway, you generally get a trial within 1 year of filing the complaint. But of course, everybody was hit with COVID, including Fairfax County, and that entailed at least 2 continuances of the trial date. So what would have been frenzied preparation of discovery while fighting off 4 or 5 separate sets of dispositive motions would have been condensed into that period. But as it happened, it ended up, we tried the case about 3 years later. The practical effect of that was there were a lot more depositions. I think Ms. Heard noticed about 80 depositions. She had some funding from insurance companies that provided a war chest that we really didn't have, but we responded as we needed to.
And as you prepare for this case, at what point do you go start seeing and hearing the evidence, whether it's witnesses, depositions? Are you feeling any sense of confidence?
We always had confidence in Johnny. As Camille referred to in her interview with Chanley, we had represented Johnny on a couple of other cases and gotten to know him very well. And we had first heard the story of his relationship with Amber Heard before we even contemplated the lawsuit. So we were comfortable with Johnny and that he was telling the truth. But the witnesses, you have to see as they come up. And more witnesses came forward, people who really were disinterested. They had no reason to support Johnny, but they came forward and they told very credible stories that supported Johnny's narrative. Their life played out in public, so a lot of people saw what was going on.
Unbelievable. I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see another trial quite like this one. Benchu with us the whole hour. Chanley Painter sat down with other members of the team, Camille Vasquez, Jessica Meyers, Samuel Moniz. Let's take a look at more of her interview as she gets into some more of the details of some of these witnesses.
Okay, let's talk about the testimony. First, Depp's side. You guys, other than your client, which witnesses were the most important for your case?
I think all of them played such a key role. There were so many people that wanted to testify in this case. They felt compelled to tell the truth. And so, we started with Christy Dombrowski, Johnny's sister. And we did that again on purpose because jury trials are your opportunity to tell a story, a persuasive one, but a story nonetheless. And so we started from the beginning, which was Johnny's sister. Who is Johnny Depp? Who was Johnny Depp before he became the person that we all know as Johnny Depp?
How, if at all, did Johnny react when his mother would hit him?
He was a typical little boy where if it hurt, he would cry. That was it. I mean, for the most part, you just wanted to get away from it.
It was about giving a why to certain members of that jury. Why would this person make up these allegations? And I think by Christy sharing a little bit about their childhood and Johnny's reaction to the abuse that they both sustained, started to paint a picture of who this person was many years later when he met Miss Heard and they had conflict.
Tell me about your role that you played during the trial.
I was involved in a lot of the trial preparation, so drafting the motions in limine, arguing a lot of those. I took on several trial witnesses, including Gina Duders.
That was sort of a moment in the trial that really blew up on social media, especially. She starts her testimony, she's about 15 minutes in, and then there's this sidebar out of nowhere.
You've been watching, so you have seen parts of this trial?
Yeah.
Okay, and witness testimonies?
Yeah, I've seen clips of...
You've seen it, thanks. Yeah. All right, does anybody have any follow-up questions?
Ms. Duders, have you been watching?
It doesn't matter, she's been watching clips of witness testimony. All right, you're excused, ma'am. You can have your excuse.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I was conducting Gina's direct examination. and somebody in the gallery, a member of Ms. Heard's party in the gallery, passed up to one of her attorneys a phone with screenshots of what appeared to be Gina Deuter's posting on social media about the trial. What actually happened, ultimately it turned out, was that Gina had seen a couple of clips, a couple of isolated clips, just because people had been sending her clips on social media. But she hadn't been seeking it out, and she hadn't actually been watching any significant amount of it. And the apparent social media posts had actually been from the year prior.
Dr. Shannon Curry. She was almost a crowd favorite. You could tell she connected with this jury. How important was Dr. Curry's findings and conclusions to your case?
As a result of the work that you performed, did you form any opinions with respect to Ms. Heard?
I did.
What were those opinions?
The results of Ms. Heard's evaluation supported 2 diagnoses: borderline personality disorder and histrionic personality disorder.
Having a psychologist say, this is what IPV looks like, this is what PTSD looks like, this is what it doesn't look like, was going to be persuasive.
There was one witness that you guys put forth early on, the marriage counselor.
With Ms. Heard, he was triggered, and they engaged in what I saw as mutual abuse.
That was her opinion. That doesn't mean that she was saying that there was mutual physical violence on both sides. Again, no witness came forward and said, I saw Johnny Depp physically abuse Ms. Heard with my own eyes.
Any trial, you're going to have some testimony that you love and some testimony that you hate. And there's never going to be a trial when you don't end at least one day of it going, oh no, that was bad. And that was the case here. And I think we put on enough evidence showing that Johnny Depp has a lot of good qualities, is fundamentally decent, is fundamentally nonviolent, that ultimately that comment, I don't think, made much difference.
All right, when we come back, we're going to take a look at Johnny Depp's testimony through the eyes of his legal team. Ben Chu is with us, and of course, Chanley sat down with the rest of the team. We'll be right back.
About 6 years ago, Ms. Heard made some quite heinous and disturbing, brought these disturbing criminal acts against me that were not based in any species of truth, but never did I myself reach the point of striking Ms. Heard in any way, nor have I ever struck any woman.
Johnny Depp on the stand. Tonight we're taking an in-depth look at Johnny Depp's legal team. Ben Chu is with us this hour, but Chanley Painter also sat down with the rest of the team, including Camille Vasquez. Here they are talking about Johnny Depp on the stand.
It's been 6 years of trying times. It's very strange when one day you're Cinderella, so to speak, and then in 0.6 seconds, you're Quasimodo.
Let's talk about your client. He spent 4 days on the stand early on in your case in chief, too, telling his story. How do you think it went overall?
I think it went really, really well. I was so proud of him. I really was. He was unapologetically himself.
I was always a very private person. So for me to come up here and stand before you, or sit before you all, and spill the truth is quite exposing. And it's unfortunate that it's not only exposing for myself, it's exposing for my family. It's exposing for Miss Heard. It's exposing for, it never had to go in this direction. And so I can't say that I'm embarrassed because I know that I'm doing the right thing.
We knew fairly early on that Camille would be handling Amber's cross-examination, and so I think we thought it was important to not have the same woman going after Amber handling Johnny's direct examination. So I think the idea was that it would be best for women to handle both of those witnesses, but they couldn't be the same one. And so as the second most senior woman on the trial team at the time, that came to me, and I was obviously, again, more than happy to say yes to that. Mr. Depp, how did you feel about your father when he left? When it came to the day, I wanted to be as, background as possible. I wore beige, I had my hair back. I just wanted to be a voice in the background and have him be the focal point.
So how did you prepare him?
From my perspective, it was really just important that he be able to tell his story in the most uninterrupted way. And because up until this point, it really had been Amber's story that was out in the world. And so we wanted him to be able to tell, the world who he was and tell his side of this relationship that really had been one-sided in the public.
What people finally got to see was the real Johnny Depp. Funny, a little bit annoyed at times, frustrated, I would say, with the process, the objections that, but just real.
I believe the 18th
in 2 years
quite
before.
Was quite possibly, maybe that was the online version that came out first.
2 years before either the online or the print.
I'm sorry, I was just going to finish my
I think you
answer.
answered my question, sir. Thank you.
Do you have a drinking problem, Johnny?
Objection calls for hearsay. What the doctors told him.
I'm not sure he's saying what the doctors told him.
I think that's what's about to be testified to.
If you can make that clear, I guess.
Let me ask you a different question, Mr. Depp.
Yes. Let's let him object to another one.
I think we developed a very good rapport. I find him very funny. I think he has an incredible sense of humor about incredibly painful things, right? And I appreciated his ability and willingness to sort of bare his soul in front of everyone. I've always had an appreciation for sort of psychology and how that impacts our work as lawyers. And so with Johnny, I think that appreciation really helped him feel, I hope, comfortable to tell his story. What have you lost as a result of Ms. Heard making these allegations against you?
Nothing less than everything. Because when the allegations were made, when the allegations were rapidly circling the globe, telling people that I was a drunken, cocaine-fueled menace who beat women suddenly in my 50s. It's over. You're done.
He's not everyone's cup of tea. He uses bad language. He's, struggled with sobriety his whole life. But he didn't do this. I didn't believe that a man in his 50s wakes up one day and starts to abuse their partner.
I think he was genuine. I think people know he's an actor and they expected to sort of see him up there acting a bit. And he wasn't. I mean, he was talking about his really painful memories from his childhood. He was talking about these really painful experiences he had had in his relationship with Ms. Heard and in the aftermath after she had made allegations against him. And I think he wasn't afraid to really get into how he felt, how it affected him. And at the same time, he took ownership for his role, right? And I think that was compelling to people.
Unforgettable. Ben Chu still with us, the leader of Johnny Depp's legal team. Ben, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but the fact that this trial was about what it was about, which was his entire life, how do you have that conversation? Or did he know by bringing a defamation case like this that the world was going to know everything?
Yeah, we had a long conversation with him. You know, before any defamation case, you have to do a lot of due diligence into the truth, because obviously, as you well know, the truth is always a defense in any defamation case. And we were confident that he was telling the truth, but then you get into some ancillary issues, which is, all right, we're satisfied that these allegations were false. But there are other things that may come in, you know, the alleged substance abuse, that kind of thing. He's a very thoughtful person, and he weighed all of that. And as I think you just heard in the snippet, he wasn't embarrassed, because ultimately he knew he was doing the right thing. And I really think that he was doing it for his family. I mean, his family knew that he didn't do this, but I think he felt that they should not go through life with the stigma of other people thinking that. And my brother Peter came up with a great line that we used in my part of the closing, which was that this was, you know, the only Me Too case without any other Me Toos. In other words, you think of all the others, and there's several who come forward after the first allegation is made. Mr. Depp has been with many women in his life, some of whom he's disappointed, and not one of them, not one, came forward after she first made the allegation on May 27, 2016. And I think that was very important, and I think it was something that we stressed. And that was not a claim Ms. Heard could make. That was not a claim Ms. Heard could make, because she had a record of violence against a partner, or at least alleged violence, and that's not something that Johnny had.
That really is so significant. Is your brother a lawyer?
He's not. He is a comedian and an artist, and very talented, but he's a great wordsmith, so I borrowed that line from him.
Absolutely, and it's so true, such a big part of the case. Ben Chu staying with us. We're going to have more of our in-depth look at Johnny Depp's legal team. Part 1 tonight, Part 2 tomorrow night. But first, coming up next hour. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a 10-year-old boy getting ready to go back to adult court, trying to get his case sent back to juvenile court. The allegations: purposely aiming and shooting his mother because he wasn't permitted to order something from Amazon.
Anytime there's violence that happens in Milwaukee, whether it's committed by somebody who's 10 years old or much older than that, that gives me pause.
Hickson.
In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Mr. Depp's claim against Ms. Heard. 1. As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled, "Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." In the Washington Post online edition, quote, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change," end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
Wow. What a moment. I still call it the miracle in Fairfax. Unbelievable. We're taking an in-depth look at Johnny Depp's legal team tonight to figure out how that miracle was pulled off. Chanley Painter sat down with Camille Vasquez and some other members of the team. Let's take a listen to more of that interview.
Now, I've heard that you guys were called the Black Pearl.
Who told you?
I don't know.
So, yes, this is true. We are the Black Pearl.
But not cursed.
Not cursed. Though that was, contemplated when we were coming up with a team name.
Ben kind of came up with this, I think it was Ben, that he would just start referring to us as the Black Pearl. So every email I get from Ben pretty much starts off with Black Pearl, comma, and goes into telling us whatever he wants us to do. And that's just how we refer to ourselves. It took.
Obviously, it's the ship that Jack Sparrow is on, or whatever. Truth be told, I actually haven't seen a lot of the Pirates, so I know it's bad. Well, what's interesting about this is that we had some real big fans of Johnny and his work on the team, and they happened to be some of the people that wrote a lot of the briefs, and Jessica Meyers actually is a huge fan of Johnny Depp's and his films.
Yeah, so I grew up watching his movies, as I think many have. So when I would write the briefs, very often there would just be little tidbits that there would be a phrase or something that it would make me happy to drop it in, and I don't know that anyone else would notice. Camille says she did sometimes. I don't know if the courts notice, but hopefully not, actually. But it was something to sort of make what can be sometimes an overwhelming and difficult job a little more fun.
And Johnny seemed like someone who was so upbeat the whole time. So he was very much a part of your team as well.
There is a funny story about Johnny during the trial. He was very involved. So after court, we would come back to the hotel we were all staying at, and we would meet and we would debrief, and then we would talk about what was happening the next day. And there was definitely a rapport built between all of us. He played a pretty good practical joke on all of us. We had a war room that was down the hall from where he was staying. All of a sudden, someone knocks on the war room door, and there is a very elderly man outside who just comes barging into the war room and really had people going and scared because we didn't know who this person was. And then we heard the laugh, and the laugh is unmistakably Johnny. And it's actually one of the disguises he uses when he goes out.
Tell me about Ben Chu.
You gotta love Ben. He's honestly one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. He's a genuinely nice guy. He gives people a lot of opportunities that they wouldn't ordinarily get at their level. He really sets his ego aside and decides what's going to be best for the case.
I had the good fortune of working with Ben Chu on another trial at the end of 2019. And afterwards, I had helped him prep for a witness that he took at that trial. And I think he must have appreciated, I think he appreciated the way that I knew all the documents and sort of had mastered the factual evidence for the trial. I'm so appreciative to Ben for giving me that opportunity and giving me that chance then, and then taking a chance on me at trial as well.
I mean, I adore Ben. He's a wonderful friend and mentor and fantastic lawyer. I have, nothing but love and respect for him. I mean, these people, we're stuck together for life, whether we like it or not at this point. I mean, we're family. I mean, again, tremendous amount of respect for him and just adore him.
This is rare. This is rare. The lawyers considering themselves a family and a team, and everybody loves Ben Chu. Ben Chu, still with us. And also joining us now, Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter. And Chanley, you can verify that everyone loves Ben Chu, right?
Everyone loves Ben Chu. You know, it's so rewarding as a journalist, Vinny, to start a story day one, sit inside a courtroom every day, get to know the teams, the players, the parties, and then full circle almost sit down afterwards. And really, they pull the curtain back, and we learn so many new details that are revealing. And yes, who doesn't love Ben Chu, right? Such a great guy. So honored to have him on tonight. But this isn't it. We have a whole show tomorrow, another hour. That was just the beginning, the tip of the iceberg, Vinny.
Gotcha. And we're going to have a preview of that in just a second. Ben, let me ask you about this team, this family, this trust. Was this trial fun?
There were aspects of it that were a lot of fun. This was such a great team, myself excluded and Wayne excluded. Wayne Dennison is another tremendous senior attorney, but ourselves excluded. It was a very young team. We had the benefit of working with them. It was wonderful. We were very close, and Johnny also is a lot of fun. There were moments of tension. You know, his life was on the line, so it wasn't all fun and games. And our love for him kind of made us work even harder. And I wanted to clear up one thing for the record. It was Jessica who came up with the Black Pearl. I'd love to take credit for that, but that was her.
She's the big fan. All right, Chanley, what can we expect tomorrow night in part 2? And Ben, you're joining us tomorrow night too, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. What's coming up tomorrow night, Chanley?
Yeah, tomorrow night we're going to shift. We focus tonight a lot on Depp's case in chief rebuttal. Tomorrow, Amber Heard's case, specifically a lot of Camille Vasquez perspective on Amber's testimony, how she prepped for the cross-examination, what didn't go as planned, and what surprised her. Here's a taste, Vinny. During the cross of Amber, anything surprise you?
Yes, she came off angry at some of the questions, and that was surprising to me, but also I thought really helpful for our case, because I think the jury got to see, at least in our opinion, who the real Amber Heard was.
There's a lot more of that, plus some new details, Vinny, on the jury. Things that I didn't know sitting in there staring at the jury all day long, coming from Camille Vasquez, plus the team's reaction to the appeal filed by Amber Heard, and a lot of the arguments from Amber's side. There's some tough questions that they're going to field tomorrow. We're going to hear their answers, especially with Amber Heard arguing about this chilling effect that she believes this verdict has on women or survivors who want to step forward and talk about domestic abuse. So we'll have the Depp team's reaction to all of those tough questions tomorrow.
Ben, let me ask you about Amber Heard. Had you ever heard of Amber Heard before this?
I really hadn't, only in the context of speaking with Johnny and knowing that by the time I met him, they had already been divorced. But I didn't know any of her work as an actress.
And the Washington Post op-ed that is the subject of all of this, when it first came out, did you see it? Did you read it? Were you surprised, or is it something that you get a call from Johnny saying, what's going on here?
I was surprised. I mean, I read it, and then almost contemporaneously, I got a call from someone on Johnny's team, but I read it the same way the jury read it. It clearly was referring to Johnny. There wasn't much subtle about it, and the fact that they didn't literally mention his name was immaterial. I thought it was outrageous.
And one more question. We don't get less than a minute left here, Ben. How big this trial became? Did you have any idea going in?
No, we really didn't. I mean, when the chief judge decided it would be televised, we knew there would be some notoriety. It really didn't hit me until opening arguments, which Camille and I split. And when I got up there, I kind of realized the magnitude of it in terms of the interest that people had. And then every day around the courthouse, of course, it was there were people, there were alpacas. It was quite a scene.
Quite as it snowballed. It absolutely did. All right, Chanley Painter, thank you so much. We'll see you again tomorrow night. Ben Chu, we'll see you tomorrow night for part 2 of our Inside Look. Thank you so much.